I'm going to make a vegetarian hot pot. Hello, today I'm going to make a vegetarian hot pot. Hello, I'm vegetarian and today Hello, I'm a vegetarian and today I'm going to make a vegetarian hot pot. I'm going to make a vegetarian hot pot, and the vegetarian hot pot is going to be cooked in the oven. But first, I'm going to have to fry off the mince. By mince, I mean vegetarian mince. You might normally use lamb mince, or beef mince, or turkey mince. But there are other variants of mince that I know can be available. But I'm going to use corn mince. Please, won't you join me in the kitchen as I prepare the vegetarian hot pot? First things first, you have to tie up your hair. You don't want any stragglers falling into the vegetarian hot pot. I'm going to use an old piece of material, but you can use a hairband, an elastic band, a hair bobble, or a hat. I'm also going to play some music, as music makes me feel happy, and I believe that food tastes better when you're happy and when you've cooked in a happy mood.
£1 reward for information.
I'm choosing to listen to Radio 2. At the minute they have the news on, so there isn't any music, but you could listen to another station. You don't have to listen to Radio 2. It's also absolutely vital that you wash your hands. First, I take off my watch, and I take off my ring. Then I use hot water to wash my hands thoroughly. Be careful, hot water can be hot. Now choose your vegetables. I will be using some broccoli, carrot, a courgette and onions. Ideally, I would also be having some leeks or some parsnips or other vegetables, but when one can't be asked going to Tesco's, one must make do with what one has in the fridge. Or wherever you happen to keep your vegetables. One advantage to being a vegetarian is the fact that there isn't much chance of cross-contamination as far as chopping boards are concerned. However, I would like to arrange my vegetables in order of strength of flavour. By that, I mean I'm not going to put my onions next to my carrots. I think it's very important that each vegetable keeps its own sense of self. Here's a tip for when you're chopping an onion. Leave on the end with the roots. If you do this, there is less chance of you being emotionally affected by the onion. This is the best way to chop an onion. Lengthways, and then across. And then just chop as you please. And there you have an onion chopped. I'm also going to use a clove of garlic, for no other reason other than the fact that I'm the kind of man who believes a clove of garlic can never do any harm. It's around this time when one starts to wonder, what the bloody hell am I listening to? But don't worry, you can easily change the radio station. I've now opted to use my own iPod. Remember, you can never go wrong when the music belongs to yourself. Here's a tip for when you've just been chopping garlic and you don't want your fingers to smell of garlic. use a simple stainless steel teaspoon and use it whilst you wash your hands. Just make sure that the stainless steel touches all the areas that was in contact with the garlic. This will instantly remove all trace of smell of that horrid little vegetable. Is it a vegetable? Is it a herb? Is it a spice? What is it? It's a form of bulb, is what it is. It has a lot of scent and a lot of flavour. Now, I'm lucky enough to own one of these vegetable slices, and this is what I'm going to use to slice my potatoes. You simply put the potato into this handheld object, like this, and then with a simple slicing action, you're left with absolutely perfect slices for a hot pot at the ideal width and ideal size. Now, isn't that a miracle? Now, as I'm only making an individual hot pot, this amount of potato is definitely enough. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to place it into a little tub of water. Like that. This will stop that bastard air getting to the potatoes and ruining them before I'm able to actually use them. I've heated some oil in a pan. To this I'm going to add the garlic and the onions. The rest of the vegetables will be added later. Don't worry about them, they won't be forgotten. I've added the corn mince to the onions and garlic. It's important to break it up because it does tend to come in a big chunk. Having browned off the mince, I'm adding some Arbisto onion gravy granules. These are vegetarian. The other varieties that Bisto do are not vegetarian, except of course the vegetable gravy granules, but I'm not using those, I'm using the onion gravy granules. Just sprinkle on a little amount, not too much, don't worry. Give it a stir and then whack in the rest of your vegetables. With the vegetables now at a nice golden state, I've knocked up some rather thin onion gravy. This is going to be poured in with the vegetables and mince and left to simmer for a jolly good while. Because this is bubbling too rapidly, I'm moving it over to the smaller ring on the hob. This should get it down to quite a standard level of simmering, not like that bugger. With the mince and vegetables left in the trustworthy hands of nature, I'm going to let that simmer. With that, I'm going to take advantage of the time and clean up the kitchen, the mess that I've already made. Remember, a clean kitchen is a clean mind, and a clean mind is a clean palate, and a clean palate is home for a lovely meal. Remember the potatoes that I dealt with earlier? Well, now it's time to bring them into the meal. What I've got is a pan with some oil heating. To this, I'm going to add a bit of dried parsley and a generous half teaspoon of mustard. Give that a good shake and get it playing around with itself for a little second. To this, I've added the potatoes. I'm going to coat them generously in the mustard and parsley oil mixture and then leave them to fry for just a short while. Now, I don't know whether you can tell or not, but the kitchen has actually filled with smoke. Now, I'm putting this down to the recently fried potatoes. I'm not sure whether using mustard thrown straight into scorching hot oil, I don't know whether that was particularly the best idea that I've ever had, but the potatoes are looking quite well. As is the little mixture of vegetables and mince. It's almost time for the hot pot to be put into the oven. It's absolutely vital that we thicken this vegetable mixture before it goes into the oven, otherwise it could all go tits up. What I use is a teaspoon of corn flour and a teaspoon of Arbisco gravy powder. I mix this with cold water to form a paste, just like this. Now, I've taken the mixture off the heat. It's absolutely 100% vital that you do not put the mixture, this mixture, into that mixture whilst this mixture is heating. Otherwise, it all curdles and gets lumpy, and nobody likes lumpy hot pots. Having transferred the mince and vegetable mixture into a casserole dish, I'm now going to layer it with my potatoes. As you can see, despite having said that I was only doing an individual sized hot pot, I am obviously very, very bad with my servings and understanding how much I should be using. I therefore have no choice but to create a whole size hot pot. No worries, it won't go to waste, I assure you. There, that is one hot pot that is definitely ready to be going into the oven. Placed in a preheated oven at about 200 degrees, the hot pot should take about 30 minutes, but it's best to check it regularly. If there's one thing that isn't good for a hot pot, it's burning it. And now I have more time to do the rest of the dishes. The attack of the spatula. Oh, don't mind me. This is going to take a while. With that being in the oven for another short while, I'm going to use this opportunity to give you some facts about the hot pot. Now, the full name, and you might know the hot pot by this name, is actually a Lancashire hot pot, although I don't feel justified in using that name today myself, as not only am I using vegetarian mince, but I am using mince. Now, I know a lot of people would tend to use beef or lamb or mutton or another kind of animal, but in steak form, braising steak or casserole steak, not so much in the form of mince. Mince is usually reserved for shepherd's pie and cottage pie, and that's a whole other lesson. Of course, the Lancashire hot pot did originate in Lancashire, which was an industrial town in the northwest of England. The first person to make a Lancashire hot pot was a lady named Betty. Betty worked in a pub in Manchester, Weatherfield to be precise. Now, Betty's hot pots have become nationally renowned. The first person to make a vegetarian hot pot like the one I'm making today was Linda McCartney. Linda McCartney's favourite meal was vegetarian hot pot. That's when she wasn't tucking into those yummy sausages. Now, Lancashire hot pot is one of my favourite meals, and hopefully once you've made it yourself, it will shortly become one of yours. Thank you for joining me. And there we have it, one finished hot pot. Now, is this a hot pot or is it not a hot pot? It's a hot pot. Finished hot pot. Now, is this not a hot pot or is it pot top? Is this not a hot pot or is this a hot pot or is this not a pot? A pot not. A hot pot. Is this a pot? It's a... Now, is this a hot pot or is it a pot? A hot pot. Is it though? Is this a hot pot? Now, is this a... Ow, the pot's hot.